Any advice you could give someone who's looking to improve their book promotion or advertising? Maybe some
so the
advice?
very first thing you should do is start building a mailing list, especially because in the very beginning it's literally free to start doing it. Most of the services, I use MailerLite, and there are other services. Most of them don't start charging you until at least you have, I forget, several hundred, if not 1,000 people on your list. That's far more important and valuable to you than throwing money down, a Facebook thing or anything like that. All that comes later. Build up, once you have a couple titles in a series, that's a great way to start with Facebook and other things where you don't have to rely on the one book making all the money back. But it's much better to put any of your effort into building up mailing lists.
Okay, and for those unfamiliar,
tons and tons of resources online to help you understand how to do it.
Okay.
Or I can come back on and we'll do a whole nother conversation on that.
Okay. For those unfamiliar, how do you get your first, say, 100 or 50 names on your mailing list? How do you begin to accumulate?
So, let's see how to do this. The secret, the best thing you can do with a mailing list is you basically create a funnel. In other words, you start off with a real wide reach, as wide as possible. You want to get everybody to sign or to try your stuff. And then once they sign up, you send them a series of emails, and you can have this all automated so that it will weed out those people to just get you the true fans, the people who really want to hear from you, so that when you have a new book out, you can email it to them, and then day one they're out there buying your book. And the best way to do it right now that I know of is what a lot of people call our reader magnet, which is basically something for free that you're giving them in exchange for their email address. Because people have wised up. They used to just sign up for anything. But people started getting so much junk email that they finally were like, they realized that this is something has value, and they're not as easily giving it up. And if you ever really wonder how somebody might react to your pitch, put yourself in their shoes. I mean, we all get inundated all the time with pitches. What do you sign up for? What made you sign up for that? And one of the things that you do is a reader magnet. In my case, I have enough books, like in my Max Porter series. If you sign up for my reader magnet, I'm going to give you the first 2 books for free. And I can do that because there's 13 books in the series. And I know if you read the first 2, if you've made it through the second one, I've got you hooked and you'll buy the rest. And if you don't make it through the first 2, you're not my reader. Go find somebody else, because you're somebody else you'll enjoy, and I'm obviously not it. So, you can do that. You could give out a short story. You could give out one of the really, I don't know if it still works, but it worked for a while for this one guy. He did he had like a Jack Reacher kind of thriller spy series. And so rather than give out any kind of free books or stories, he spent about an afternoon and he made up a fake dossier on the guy with redacted bits and the whole thing. It was really cool, just a cool, fun little thing, and blurry photos of him and all this. And that's what you would get. You'd sign up and you'd get this little PDF. It doesn't matter what you're giving them, as long as it's something that they can get. You can send them electronically. You don't want to deal with actual fulfillment through the mail.
Yeah.
And they get it right away for signing up. And why this works is it works because of a thing called reciprocity. Human beings are hardwired that if I do something nice for you, there's going to be part of you that's going to feel the urge to reciprocate and do something nice back. And so if you know that by giving me your email, you're going to get a free book, that reciprocity is immediate. And you can always unsign. There are plenty of people who sign up for it just for the free book. But that's fine, because they were never going to buy anything from me anyway. They've now read my stuff, and they will tell, and the ones who like it are like, oh, I've heard of that guy. And it works. That's how I knew it was working, because long before my sales numbers picked up, I started showing up at panels. And when I used to go up and I'd say, hi, I'm Stuart Jaffe, and do my pitch, and it just would be crickets out there. And then suddenly I started seeing people nodding, like they knew who I was. I'm like, wait, this is working. You actually know me. You know my name. That's really good. So the other great thing is if you're giving something away for free, there are plenty of small newsletters and like really tiny versions of BookBub that might only have maybe 100 people subscribe to it. But they will charge you either nothing to promote your free giveaway or like $5. So if your limit, if your budget is say $50 for the entire month, there are little things like that $5 here, $10 there. And you may only, if it goes out to 100 people, maybe you'll get 3 or 4. But it starts to build. And then when you can afford something like, Robin Reads, you do one of those for a free download of something and you might get 400. There are other things. Some people like to do contests, and, where you can set them up through like Rafflecopter, where they're going to give away a Kindle, and on the Kindle is all of their books, all of my books on a Kindle for the first person, and everybody else, and just by joining into the raffle, you're pretty much signed up, and you'll get a huge 50 or 60% will drop off right away, but there will be a lot that stick on, and it just and it always takes a long time to get those first couple hundred. And then it snowballs, and then it dies down again. I'm in the die down. I've got about 8,000 and some on my mailing list, and I came close to about 10,000 at one point, and then I've slowly let them just die off a little bit, and I'm about to start chugging up again and trying to get more.
Mm-hmm. So your mailing list is something you still use then?
What?
So your mailing list is something you still use?
Oh my goodness, yeah. Mailing lists, well, first of all, mailing lists are probably one of the most tried and true methods of communicating with fans. It predates the internet. It predates computers. It it goes all the way back to, the Sears and Roebuck catalog was basically a mailing list.
Yeah.
And that goes back into the 1800s. And the reason it still works is because it works. People they get to view it on their own time, read it at their own pace. They're only on the mailing list because they wanted to be originally. And as long as you don't abuse it, I only give out my mailing list. My newsletter goes out once a month. That's it. I know some people do twice a month. I know some people get away with once a week. I wouldn't sign up for that. But some people like that. It just depends. And I know other authors who basically never send out a newsletter unless they have a new book out. So if they only do 3 books in a year, if they do 1 book in a year, you're getting 1 newsletter, that's it. I don't like that personally, but it just depends.
Okay.
But yeah, it's not only valuable because it actually works, but also, and here's the big thing, is you own that list.
Mm-hmm.
If tomorrow Jeff Bezos dies or goes insane and leaves the company, a bunch of suits are going to take over. This is what happened in Apple, right? Apple was this far-thinking, future-thinking company. Steve Jobs dies, and now suddenly the new iPhone is just like the old iPhone, except a couple little minor changes. When Jeff Bezos is no longer running that company, it's going to majorly change how that company works. And it's very possible that, it wouldn't happen overnight, but it's possible that at some point they'll be like, you know what, this whole ebook thing, we're not interested in anymore. It's only, 0.5% of our probably not even that much. It's like 1/10% of our money, but it costs us X amount. Let's get rid of it. So suddenly that stops. Well, if that happened tomorrow, I could send a letter out to my 8,000 people and say, well, I know you can't get it on Amazon anymore. Here's where you can get my books. Or I can set up my own store and say you can buy them directly from me. But if you don't have a list, you have no way of knowing you have no way to contact these people.
Okay.
That's a big part of it.
Okay. Well, I sure appreciate you taking the time for the interview. It was great stuff.
Always a pleasure. It's good to see you again.
Nice seeing you too.
Thanks for having me.
Okay.